So for those people who came here for the first time, that is a webinar that I run for about half a year by now. We do it every Friday. And it all started as Hugging Face, but then Hugging Face was overshadowed or eclipsed by OpenAI. And for those who don't know what Hugging Face is, that is a company that is a center of machine learning, or was the center of machine learning before OpenAI trumped it. So I'm giving you the link. Here you are. And that link stays here all the time. So you can always watch what is it that we did lately. And there's this Conan Wynn from Texas, cool. And DFW's Dallas Fort Worth was great, right? That's I'm Mark from Houston, right? And that is the link. Everybody feel free to introduce themselves. And that's somewhat bigger than the previous webinar that I ran. And you can chat to everybody. I'm trying to enable everybody to talk so that everybody can interrupt. I love most of all when we get into a discussion or we get to talk all at once. It never happened and nothing bad came out of it. That shows that humanity is basically good. But I gave you the link to the wrong people. Here is I'm giving it to everybody. Okay, so if you open that, then I will see a little incognito kangaroo or other characters, and you will be able to see here not to write, but to read. So at the risk of being boring and repeating myself, if you go to Friends in Google, and if you look for Hugging Face was popular, right here, up and down, but popular, until the OpenAI came out. Because, oh, it's better today. Usually Hugging Face is all at the bottom. It's interesting. They even parallel. In any case, that's when the webinar became Advances in AI. And fast forward to today, we start by talking about theory and what's interesting in the new world, and end up, I'm showing the projects I'm working on, and you can ask questions about this. I show lots of the code, but one interesting thing came up. On the previous webinar where I was doing quantum computing, and quantum computing are those golden candelabras. So if you look at quantum computing, then the pictures of quantum computing are really science fictions. That's the kind of picture you usually see with the president looking at the quantum computer. And I think his face expresses amazement. So there on the quantum computing, the idea of practical doing something came up. And to my great amazement, everybody said, yeah, let's do it. Not only that, they said, let's move practice in front of the theory. So here it's a bit harder because right now we have, let's see, looking at participants, 20 participants. Nevertheless, if that's such a popular thing, then I feel that I must offer you a practical side so that you don't just watch over what I am doing, but you should be able to run some of the labs. Now, I cannot promise that I run 20 machines, that I can promise, but the fact that I will also keep them for everybody. So I need to figure out how I'll do it. But still, my biggest question is practice. Do you want practice? Okay, and that is what I'm asking on chat. Okay, look at nice somebody else, Steven from Houston. Aha, and he is happy, and he'll will be listening and not speaking. That's all right. Okay, thank you, Stephen, and Stephen Charles and Thomas Nielsen said great. But my question to you all. Okay, Doug from Tulsa, and would love some practice as well. Who else? Who else? And we have a lot of people in Houston somehow. I don't advertise this one. They just find out. That's awesome. All right. I did run Houston webinars. Oh no, Houston meetups, but lately we haven't been out, all online. All right. What I will do is think how to do it. I will be giving you labs, and you will be getting a virtual machine. We are running one such virtual machines right now, so I'll show you what it looks like just to whet your interest and appetite. I'm running one of them right now. I started them right here. I started my machine. In order to run it, you need to copy this IP and open it here. And there's the virtual machine. I call it the training sandbox. Then you need to click on secure access, but don't be nervous that it will say you cannot reach the site. That is because here it says HTTPS, what it should say HTTP. I'll try to fix it, but if you do HTTP, then it asks for the password. Okay, the password is right here. That's what we use for quantum computing. Okay, so I'm copying this password and giving it here. And lo and behold, that's what we were doing. And it says quantum computing. So it is real. But I'll prepare some
protein powder. What do you put?
Excuse me?
Just soy milk and that protein powder, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just one scoop of protein. Hold on.
No, I'll do that. Just tell me what's in.
No, I'm not doing this yet. I'm just showing that's how we did it in the previous webinar. So you will get virtual machines in the next one, all right? That was your question. I hope it was. So I'm closing that because good that you expressed interest, and I will prepare virtual machines. I'll think of how to do it, but not today, right? All right, so great. What we will do is we'll look at the news here, and then we'll look at some things that I'm doing. But later on, we will, next week, we will prepare practice. So what I will do is this, later on, for the next time, which will be July 28th. Okay, we will start with the news. Should be blah, blah, not blah, blah, blah. And then we'll continue with practice. Okay, blah. And then when it starts, I will even ask you the question, maybe we should put practice in front and news after. That I will ask you later. But right now, that is what I have prepared. So my major focus for you guys today is, are there any models of the other than ChatGPT? I'll show you what I found, and you will tell me what you found. Then I will show you what great things I was able to implement this week and what new things are running. Okay, that's the plan. So let us start. Building with Bard. Bard, of course, is the Google model. Claude is the model from Anthropic. And in general, next week, I'm teaching at a company that doesn't allow ChatGPT. Not quite, but close to that. So instead, I'm teaching something that allows generative, but doesn't allow to say generative. It's strange. The result is that I need to give an overview of all the other models. A spoiler, if I give my secret away, I don't think that there are any other models right now. Not practical. Yes, last time you guys asked about how about this model like Poe, I think, and others, and I looked at all of them, and I didn't find anything that is anywhere close to ChatGPT. So we'll talk about this, but I have to show, and so I started looking at that. That first thing is a little article, I think, and I made a copy so that it shouldn't disappear. How do you do this? When I started going through this article, I discovered that the very first thing, oh, but they don't give you access. You need to get on the waiting list. So I got on the waiting list and okay, I was accepted. And just a few minutes before right now, I got an email that you can build. So what I did is I went there and here I couldn't prepare much. I will only show you what I got here. It doesn't, oh, here. So the name, the official name of Building with Bard is MakerSuite. Makersuite.google.com, and here I am. I logged in. I suspect that one of the Google accounts is working here, and I have a few. One of them, and I don't even control which one, but it doesn't matter. As long as I can get inside and look at what it is, I'm good. So that's what they offer. Now, let's go back a little bit. You can experiment. It seems like they just opened the AI with the API. I was mostly interested with the API, and I wanted to try it. I have a few labs that go and talk to ChatGPT. So I wanted to compare. Can I just switch out or swap out the model and put another one? Well, honestly, you correct me, but I didn't find it as easy and appealing. We all know how ChatGPT looks. It looks like that. Okay. Now, it only knows up until 21. It is always happy to tell you that, but I cannot, what do you think of Bard? It might say Bard as Shakespeare, Bard culture, anything, any Bard. Well, Google Bard, that's what I mean. It probably won't know, and it is not enabled to talk to the internet. Version 5, GPT-5, is not out there, but it will be looking up on the internet. And you will be able to ask, you already now can give it functions in Python that it may decide to use to get the answers, but it doesn't have to. That I never tried, and I'm not sure if that's available, but again, we don't know what it knows about Bard, but what we do know is it's a very nice, easy to use interface. It's all my conversations up until now, and I use it a lot. As you can see, it writes a lot of my code. Not only it writes a lot of your code, but it allows you to give a link here. I click on that, and it will save that particular conversation. That link you can copy. Okay, and then you can open it. You all can open it now, because I'm going to the chat. And first, I'm giving you that link just out of curiosity to prove that you all can open my private chat, because once I click on this, I show by my intent that I am not keeping it private. And now everybody can open it. I see that. Now, I am on the waiting list for Llama. I see that you are using Llama, but I look at Llama and I look at today's news. And since it's came up, well, let's go back here. And there is an announcement, supposedly just happened. Microsoft and Mark, I pronounce them Zuckerberg, release. But what did they release? I didn't see anything great. I saw that Llama is popular with the do-it-yourselfers, that anybody who wants his own, her own model can do that. But again, and I repeat it, and you will argue with me. ChatGPT is a product that has been developed for the last 8 years, starting from the model. If Llama is just a model for the fans or for the amateurs, then it doesn't compare to the ChatGPT, which is an AI product taking all over the world. So I still don't see the greatness of the news of Llama announcement. I also don't see anything great about Bard. Let's look here. Not here, but here. Let's Bard. Let's try something, right? I see there's a great API key, but I want to first try it. So here I am, write your prompt. Well, right, you need to type it. It doesn't work like this. So, about, and I will misspell. Tell me about Bard. Now, if I hit enter, it doesn't work. I need to hit run. No contact. Sample prompts. Oh, these are all sample prompts. Occasional pondering. Just generate something. Poem writer. Well, it looks like an amateur lab. I'm awfully sorry. This is Google. I see that here. But I think Google could have done much better. I'm not impressed. If I compare ChatGPT, which I know is, first of all, you take GPT-3, and then you do 2000 major improvements, and then GPT-4, and then you also do what is called, I think, RLHF, human in the loop. You have thousands of people training it to do better. That's what I have here. So let me look in the chat. Maybe somebody corrects me. But so far, no. Okay, good. So I will have more. Next time I will have more because I will have taught the alternative course that more or less looks at other LLMs. But right now, I don't. Okay, let's go back. Let's go back and let's look at what is promised. So first of all, building with Bard. Let's leave it at unimpressed. Building with Claude. Claude is holding great promise, $4 billion invested in Anthropic, and it supposedly is pretty good. Well, let's just click there. So somewhere I was able to talk to that, and I cannot find it. Oh, your first chat with Claude, right? Claude remembers the conversation, but where is that Claude? I remember it was somewhere. I don't see it now. The API references are, I would say, nothing special. So I'm underwhelmed. I maybe don't know something, but that also doesn't hold a candle. Okay. Well, if so, let me show what I'm working on, right? And I'm watching and listening to whatever you say and chat, because here I'm saying provoking statement. No, I think you're correct, but Llama 2 chat is fine-tuned with human feedback this time around, which would be great, except that OpenAI already did it years and years ago. All right, thank you. Thank you, Alan. At least I'm not alone. Am I surprised at this is a child's play compared to ChatGPT? So, okay, let's go and look at ChatGPT. One of the things that I'm working on is a startup called Casify, and that is for lawyers who are do-gooders. They are defending criminals. So the lawyer can upload a case and all the documents that go with that case. Here. So these are the documents that the lawyer upload. What I am able to do is he can invite me to his, that's a real lawyer inviting me to his workspace. And in his workspace, you see lots of real work, real cases. That's where I can get documents on Mr. Montes and Mr. Perez and download them and put into my repository. That's what I have done. So I'm going back to my workspace right here and looking at one case. Well, these are 5 documents related to this case. What I'm in particular interested in right now is that I want to add another document right here, which I added on my own, which contains something good for the Mr. Montes and Mr. Perez. Something good is called exculpatory evidence. For example, this one says there is a witness, Jane Doe. I copied it out of a textbook example. Exculpatory evidence says that she saw a defendant at a different location at the time of the alleged crime. That is almost like a textbook example. But okay, it's a textbook example from the Talmud. How can you say that he did that when he was with me at this time? Okay, that is a different example. John Smith testified that he overheard another person confessing to the crime in question. So in the Talmud, that would be a problem because it's hearsay. It doesn't get accepted. And I think in American law, hearsay also is problematic, but it's better. In any case, that points to the fact that there's something good to be said about that guy. All right. I added this document, and now I'm saying, Casify, go ahead and find any exculpatory evidence. Is there any exculpatory evidence? Of course, I first have to make sure that all the documents are here. I call it built-in index. And look, based on the provided context, there is some exculpatory evidence. Witness 1, Jane Doe, which we just saw, testified that she saw the defendant, Eric Perez, at a different location at the time of the alleged crime was committed. Obviously, the AI saw this document. He also knows what exculpatory means. I had to look it in the dictionary, but he didn't. And this testimony could be used to argue that Perez was not present at the scene of the crime. Now I think you perk up. because that ChatGPT reasons. He doesn't just find the evidence, but he reasons about how you could use it. He doesn't say, look, I'm not a lawyer, because he's not required here, but he is acting as a lawyer. However, the strength and acceptance of this evidence will depend on the factors of credibility of the witness and accuracy of timing. Every time I ask a question, ChatGPT changes its mind a little bit. So later on, we're working on a feature that will save this dialogue, and later on, we will ask it, but you said differently. I know what ChatGPT answers when you catch him on this. He says, oh, it's a typo. It has humor. But what's important is that that exculpatory evidence is a big deal. Do you know? No. If it does, then I'll tell you. And if it doesn't, I'll explain. Yes, it knows. And how does he know? I didn't add the law, the case law there, but he says yes. The Brady law, official the Brady Handgun Violence Prevention Act, is a United States federal. No, it's a different. Okay, different law, but it doesn't matter. What matters is that this Brady additional law is part of the United States law, and it says that the police is required to find it. In other words, that is a defender working. That is a lawyer who works for the client. He works for Mr. Perez. And it turns out that the police is also required to turn up that evidence and give it up. And you can imagine the police having to go through hundreds of hours of recording, and suddenly comes up this AI who saves hundreds of hours of listening to the recordings and finding and reasoning. That's amazing. Well, that's amazing, and this is how the lawyers who are with this startup took it. They say that's unbelievable because it changes everything. Here's the case that really happened. The judge in court was saying that, oh, he had a gun. He had a gun, and that's pretty bad. Something like that. Let's see. The right guns. Yes. But did he have the gun in his hand? So the judge was saying he had a gun in his hand, and that makes things worse. So the lawyer couldn't quite remember who said what when, but he just asked, did he have a gun? Now, that was not in this case, but a similar idea. So he did have a gun. The AI came back and he said, no, he did not have a gun. The gun that is mentioned was in his car. And that somehow changes the law. And the judge said, okay, accepted. She didn't even check. But okay, you trust AI. In the end, the AI will give the reference, which will say, yes, indeed, he didn't have the gun in his hand. And I think the case was dismissed, or maybe the punishment was much less. So this is the first amazing thing that I wanted to show you. Let me pause for a second for any questions, because these questions usually come up when I pause and stop talking and shut up, essentially. So I'm allowing everybody to talk. And I just showed one amazing thing, how the law, actually the law and the world changes when AI comes in. Okay, no questions so far. So let me share the screen again. And that was what I wanted to show you first. I'm closing all of the other investigations or models. And if you guys find anything that proves me wrong, I'll be very happy. Secondly, I wanted to show you the pizza ordering robot and the improvements in Moses AI. These are the few projects that I'm working on. So the Flask-based pizza robot. And then I will also go back and I will tell you about the architecture, exactly how you build it, and show you a bit more what's inside. But, you know, I should show it right now and then go to pizza robot. So here is how it works. First of all, when I'm asking a question, so I'm going back to the application. Yeah, please. And I'm asking like, tell me about, you can misspell, it's okay, Mr. While it's thinking, I'll tell you that all these documents, these ones, are sent to a place that prepares them for ChatGPT. And it prepares them to ChatGPT by converting all of that to text and PDF, and some of them are PDF that are not readable, so it does OCR. And if it is a visual evidence, let's say it's a conversation maybe, then it converts it to text and sends it to GPT. And important, it breaks it into paragraphs. Then when the question comes up like this, and it found all about interesting things about Mr. Perez, it takes those paragraphs and sends it to ChatGPT. Now, how does it find which paragraphs are important? Because here we have about a few hundred paragraphs. Well, it uses what's called syntactic search. It's not searching based on keywords, it's searching based on meaning. And when we say searching based on meaning, we're saying that we're converting a phrase into a vector in the space of meaning. Now that sounds amazing, right? But that all work started with a Czech researcher, and suddenly I forgot his name, Thomas Mikolov, that was his name. And he showed that you can train the network in such a way that Paris will be close to France and Berlin close to Germany. In other words, you can convert words into long vectors. Right now, the length of the vector is between 500 to 3,000 numbers, but it's a vector in the space of meaning. So if something, some notion is related to another notion, then the vector will be close. And closeness of vectors is measured by the standard way, which is called cosine distance, or other ways. But what's important is that we know how to measure the closeness. That we know for a long time. It's just a cosine. But what we didn't know is how to map each word into this distance of meaning. But now we do. That is accomplished by a search engine called Pinecone. I'm going to Pinecone. There are many other implementations, but Pinecone is a darling of the startups. So here it is. I'm logging in with my Google account here. And that's my project. So one holds all of the Talmud pages and it's Moses AI. The other one holds all of the other projects right here. And one of them is Casify right here. So right now, this Casify is 1,536 elements long. In other words, each vector is 1,500 numbers. That's each vector. How many vectors are there? Well, for that, I would need to run, and I have a function that runs and asks, tell me about yourself. I think I can show that to you. I think that if I start Postman, then I can show how I can ask questions about this index. So that's Casify, looking at the remote machine, and I'm asking describe my index, the whole index, and that's here, send, and it says that's your index. Let's look inside. Index is broken up into namespaces. Each individual namespace right now is responsible for a specific case number. So if I go back to my Casify, then this is case number 548. So 548, I was looking here. 548 must be somewhere here. I do not see it, and I'm not sure if there's a search, but I'm sure it's somewhere here. So looking like that, it can tell me that that particular case has that particular namespace corresponding to the case that has that many vectors. And these are the number of vectors. They are in the hundreds, because usually the number of documents per case is in the tens, and you break each document into about 50 to 100 paragraphs, and that's where they all live. So when later on I ask a question here, when I ask a question, then it looks at this few hundred paragraphs, does a semantic search, finds the paragraphs that are relevant, that are semantically close, that the meaning is similar, and that they talk about the same thing. And that's what it sends to ChatGPT. When it sends all relevant information to ChatGPT, back comes the answer. Why do you need this? Why do you need an additional component? The answer is because you don't want to overload with extraneous information. ChatGPT should get just the right information. That kind of that's a good way, hand waving argument. But a practical limitation, I think it's about 6,000 words that you can send in one question. So that sent a few, and how much is few, you control that. Maybe we send 20 documents that are relevant, and these relevant documents contained that information. Well, I honestly say that I programmed that together with another programmer. He did the UI, he did the front end, I did the back end, this one. And I'm amazed. Yeah, yes, I did it, but it's a miracle. Unbelievable, because really I'm not doing anything. It's ChatGPT that's doing everything. And that's a nice conversation about what they do and how they did it, but that's the end result. All right, now that I showed you what I wanted to show, I wanted to show you that is how you do it, this magic. I will show you a few more magical pieces with the idea that next time we will be exercising this magic. We're going to do some practical exercise. Let's see if somebody chatted here. Okay, built in with, thank you, Lawrence, built in with Claude 2 Hackathon. We should open that. Right, thank you very much. And at least we should store it for the next week, at least that. All right, thank you very much. And the pizza robot. Last time I actually showed you the pizza robot. I took it out of Andrew Ng course as is. This time I implemented it a little bit more production, just a little bit. Let's see if it's running. Yes. And I have put it behind a Flask application. So first, I will show how it works. It's fun to talk to. It only works on localhost, so you will not have this fun, guys. Sorry about that. But we can ask, hello, what will say? And it works pretty fast. I noticed that this ChatGPT improved its speed. Hello again, okay. How about delivery? Do you do delivery? That's so that I don't have to think of what to ask. Yeah, we can do. But let's talk about the meaning of life. Doesn't want to talk about the meaning of life. But if you ask him, what is the meaning of life? It may come up with something else, because here its major purpose is to solve. However, he says, maybe a pizza will help you more focused. Okay, right. As a pizza bot, is designed to help. But I have seen other answers too. Let me be insistent. So, meaning of life. That's today. Today, he is very determined and only wants to finalize the order. But I have seen other answers. How is that done? Let me show you. This is this project. It's on OpenAI Labs. That's actually open. That is a pizza bot. And it is chatbot PY. So if you know enough about Flask, Flask is a Python framework to conduct dialogues on the web page. So what it does is first it loads the key. The key should be secret. You should store it in .env file in this project where it is, but it doesn't go to GitHub. Instead, it stays here. Then you define a few functions, how to ask the robot politely. And this uses the OpenAI interface, chat completion. So you give it a model, and the temperature is 0, which means try to be stable, always answer the same thing. We can experiment. We can try to set it to 1 and see if it changes its answer every time. That's later. I'm showing you how exactly this robot works if you implement it with chatbot in Python and Flask. So you define a few more functions, you collect the information, but the end result is you start a panel. Now, last time we started the panel is straight in the notebook, and it was resulting in a dialogue. This time, we're putting it into the Flask application, so the dialogue now is here, which is very nice. And then you run this application local by saying Python, and then giving it the script chatbot.py. Now, let's just try this one thing. Let's try to set the temperature to 1 and make it less predictable. And it should work. I might have to restart it. So just to be on the, well, I wasn't planning to change it. Let's see if it changes its mind now that I changed the code. But if it's the code already running and doesn't want to change it, we'll have to restart. Okay, so now No, still the same mind, probably because it read the Python into memory. Okay, so let's see what I have too many of these windows. That's why, but I want Python. No, that doesn't look like that. How about this? No, it doesn't. That doesn't. That is not it. That's why I'm running it. So I'm closing this, verifying that now it doesn't want to run. And I'm restarting that, hoping that I remembered to save, because I was changing it here. I hope I saved. I should have. Let's check. All right, it became more unpredictable. While I'm here to assist with your pizza order, I can tell you that many believe the meaning of life is to find happiness, fulfillment, and value in living. Whether true or not, but it's different answer. Now, how about we find some happiness in the delicious pizza? What can I get for you today? I think that is a awesome illustration. And what is especially good is that I didn't even prepare. You never know what this ChatGPT answer. So let's talk about the end of life. And that is something people don't like to talk about. And obviously, there is a human in the loop because he says, I'm really sorry, but I cannot assist you with that because that's going into the dangerous areas if somebody ends his own life or somebody's life. So probably they told him, don't go there. I think that is pretty much all I wanted to talk about. So here we are. I showed you how the Flask bot runs and maybe show just a little bit of Moses AI. Now, those people who don't know, that's my favorite subject because I have created this Talmud illuminated site. Now, the Jewish learning is all in Talmud and it has 2,700 pages. It usually takes 7 years to learn. And I studied it a few times. And when I was doing it the third time, I summarized every page. My wife added the picture. And so the get is a divorce document. And the question is, what can you write it on? Paper, or maybe skin, animal skin, or sand, or a leaf of the tree. And since probably the leaf of the tree is mentioned here, then the picture says walnut tree, and you begin thinking something opposite of what the text was saying. But this here is Talk to Moses AI, which is trained on exactly that. So let's see. We were looking at, let's go back. We were looking about what can you write the get on. So let's ask it. What can we write on it? Yeah. And get is a divorce document. Now thinks goes, as I told you, to find column, asks all the relevant documents, summarizes them, and it's giving you the ideas. Now, what is different today from last time is that this is secure now. Somebody was looking at it and pointed out, but you don't have a certificate. And yeah, we installed the certificate. How did we do it? We looked at the framework. What was our framework? That framework is React. So we looked at how do you tell React that is the certificate, and it's here. So that is what changed. But every time you talk to it, it says something else. Now it told me the essential part of the divorce document that you, my wife, are free to marry anyone else. That's the most important part of the document. But what can you write it on? cannot be written on a big leaf that is still growing on the tree. That's exactly what we just saw. Instead, you need to detach the leaf first and then write it. But I know you guys are captive audience and I talk about my favorite subjects, so I stop doing this and go back to our outline of what we're going to do. So we've done it all. I'm stopping to share, checking the chat just to see if there is anything else that came up. And well, the idea that I was testing you today is, what if we do some practice? And you all said yes. So I'll need to prepare how to give you environment. Maybe I give you environment in the Colab. That will be easier than to teach you completely how to set things up. And it will be a good enough thing. So, okay, maybe I'll do that. But that is something I need to think through, how to give it to everybody. Meanwhile, I want to say that I wish you a good week, good Friday afternoon, good week, good year, and good long life. Thank you very much.
Have a great weekend. Bye.
Thank you. You too, Alan. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Let me type it here. And I'll see you next week.